Hi guys, Marshall here, and this is episode 9 of Exploring Codependency. I'm going to jump into a topic that can be a little challenging for us to understand, but it's a focal point. It's one of those core elements about codependency, and that is the idea that being needed is the same as being loved. When I say that, what comes up for you? What do you see there? What is happening for you in that? Because a lot of people are like, yes, that I could totally relate to that. Yeah, being needed is to be loved. That's not reality. See, codependency taught us to parent our parents. Our parents made their needs priority. They taught us to take care of their needs, their feelings, their wants, their desires. In a healthy dynamic, especially in healthy family relationships, the parent understands the separation of their needs from their child. See, they understand the child has their own individual needs, and they respect that, and then they respond to the child's needs. They do not expect the child to reciprocate and fill their needs. The parent knows that they need to rely on their spouse, their support system, their friends, their family for their needs. The child is autonomous or separate from the adult needs. Codependency, it's exactly the opposite. The child's needs go unmet, and the parent's needs are being met by the efforts of the child. This teaches the child to believe that their worth is in being needed, and that when they're needed, they are loved. So we have to heal this. And first and foremost, it comes into understanding our value as an individual rather than as an object. Because there's two relating strategies that happen in relationships. And the first one's object-oriented or utility. We're in the relationship to get something out of it. What's in it for me? And the second one is connection. We care about how each other feels. We like each other's presence. We're engaged with each other from that emotional, heart-centered experience. Well, codependency is the utility-based function of relating, and healthy connection is how we heal that. And so it's really important right now for you to take a moment, sit with yourself, and ask yourself what it feels like to be loved without being needed. Take a moment there. Go deep with that. What would it be like to be loved without being needed? How uncomfortable is that? What kind of thoughts or beliefs show up? Write them down. I'll give you a moment here. Now, as you're writing them down, or if you've completed it, I want you to think about this question. What would it be like to be loved for who I am? What shows up there? A lot of my clients, the first thing that comes out of their mouth, I don't know who I am. And there's a reason why you don't. It's because your world as a child was absorbed in their needs. There's no way for us to meet and understand ourselves if especially if the parent is absorbing us within their identity. See, we didn't get these questions about what we thought or what we felt, what our insights were. What's your perspective on this? What do you think about that? What are your feelings on this? We weren't asked those questions. We weren't engaged to understand who we are. We were not given opportunities to look within inside ourselves, to kind of close our eyes, our emotional eyes, and go within and go, what do I think about this? Where am I at with this? Do I like this? Do I not? No. Our emotional eyes were fixated on what they needed and what they would approve of so that we could survive their toxicity. Because really, remember, codependency, it's not who you are. It's not your identity. It is a result of love neglect. They were not giving us the love, attention, time, validation, protection that we needed. Instead, they were pulling that out of us. Or they were just completely indifferent and discarding us to the side. But most of the time, us, codependency, this is how we tried to survive it. Because we felt good, we felt loved when they felt better. And this is why we equated with being needed with being loved. So real love, though, we need to understand this. So we're going to go deep here for a moment. Real love has nothing to do with another person's pain. Nothing. Zero to do with it. The other person's pain, their feelings, their struggles are innately and by design theirs. So we get to this idea of personal autonomy. I've mentioned it a couple of times. This idea of being sovereign and self-governing. Well, problems exist for person A. They don't exist for person B. Person B is not obligated to solve person A's problems. Person A is because they own it. It's their problem, right? This is a respect to the autonomy between two people. Codependency destroys that autonomy. Narcissistic abuse destroys that boundary. A healthy, natural boundary is like, this is your problem, you get to solve it. And when we're in adult relationships, it's not our job to fix them. It is not our job to tolerate their dysfunction. It's their job to sit back and go, I've got a problem, now I've got to fix it. It's their job to take action for their own mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, financial health. It is not up to us to do that. It never was, it never will be. Adult, healthy relationships are focused on the autonomy of the individuals. It's like, I've got my problems, I'm going to deal with them. That doesn't mean we keep them to ourselves, like, oh, I'm just going to hide it. It's more like, if I have a problem, I'm going to share it. Here's an example. Maybe I'm having a really bad day. Work isn't going well, and I come home, and Sally's like, oh, I see you had a bad day. I'm like, yeah, it was really, really rough. This came up, this broke, this thing happened, this happened over there. I've got it solved. It's just really frustrating. And she's a healthy person. She'd go like, oh, I totally get that. That sucks. My day, and then I could ask her, how's your day been? She's like, it's been a fantastic day. I got this, I got that, I sold this, I won this, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, awesome for you. Awesome. And she'd be like, yes, isn't it cool? Notice in this interaction that nobody regulated to the feeling of the other person. I'm still upset and frustrated from work. She's really excited about what happened for her in her day. She respected and acknowledged and empathized with my experience, and I respected, acknowledged, and empathized with her. But we didn't have to regulate to the same level. We got to be individuals. This is how healthy dynamics work. Unhealthy adult relationships are always going to cave into the narcissistic, codependent, or addict roles, because adult relationships are not designed to fix those issues. So if there's mental illness, if there is bad or poor skill development in place, or we don't have the skills to emotionally regulate or something, we need to take responsibility for it and resolve that before we go venture into an adult relationship. We need to have positive protocols in place to help us manage our emotions and our needs and our tendencies so that it promotes love and respect and autonomy for ourselves and for the other person involved. Now, let's say we're not the person with those issues. We need to respect and honor our boundaries at all times. We need to be extremely adept and clear about the fixer impulse, the rescuer impulse. Am I trying to solve their pain for them? Am I taking responsibility for things they should be doing for themselves? Because yes, you likely are if you're going into fixing or rescuing. Majority of people are not helpless. They just don't want to take the action to make the change that is necessary for their life. They don't do that because of shame, because of fear, because of programming in their head, whatever it might be. That does not obligate us to take that responsibility over. Adult relationships are for mutual support, intimacy, play companionship. Not for rescuing, not for fixing, certainly not for helping them work out mental health issues. It's for our autonomy. Healthy adult relationships are about expanding together into the world. Now, those of us that struggle with mental health, we deserve support. We deserve love and compassion and understanding. And we deserve to contain and maintain ownership of our struggle. I mean, I deal with anxiety and depression. I maintain that. I am ultimately responsible for it. I don't put it on my friends. I don't put it on my children. I don't put it on the people I have relationships with. Those are my issues. I have some big insecurities. I manage those too. If I have big shame, I manage that too. Total and complete and proactive ownership creates healthy relationships. Okay? Especially in the emotional category. If I'm the one feeling it, I'm responsible for resolving it. This gets us out of being needed and gets us into being loved. Because when we're loved, it's not about the caretaking. It's not about the fixing. It's about, I like you for who you are. I like your presence. I like the fun we do together. I like listening to you ramble about things, Marshall. I enjoy your energy and your personality. I'm grateful for who you are and what you bring to my life. And it's mutual. I'm grateful to her for what she brings to my life, or him, what he brings to my life, whatever it might be. But we're into the person. And we're willing to say no. We're willing to stand up with our boundaries and say, that is inappropriate. That needs to stop now. I don't like that. That feels very uncomfortable. Can we do this instead? So there's a constant openness and vulnerability and a willingness to hear each other. Now, if you're in a relationship where that's not functioning, you're not in a healthy relationship. And it is now up to you to take action to remove yourself from that, or have very difficult conversations about how it needs to change so you can stay. Because relationships, especially adult-to-adult relationships, are conditional. Love may be unconditional, but relationships are not. We have a right to define deal breakers, boundaries that, if violated, mean we leave. Because we are not obligated to stay with anybody, and nobody is obligated to demand that from us. See, relationships are a privilege, and they're conditional. And that creates safety. Safety for the vulnerability that's necessary to have an intimate relationship. Without those things in place, you don't have a safe relationship. You risk abuse. You risk losing yourself in the other person, or they might lose themselves within you. You get enmeshed rather than individuated and able to act on your own economy, your own ability and power, and your own autonomy. So when we talk about being needed versus being loved, it's really coming down to choosing yourself first, understanding your nature, avoiding the fixer, rescuer, and even the pleaser, and letting people solve their problems. Because your relationship and its value should not be based on how you support them in their shit. It should be based on how you play, how your intimacy functions. On supports like, yeah, I'll hold space for you. I'll hear and I'll listen, but I can't create the solution for you. What do you think a good solution for that problem would be? That's allowing them to reason out and control and manage their world. And then companionship. You enjoy each other's physical presence. You have chemistry. It makes sense. Things like that. So I want you to check in. Because if you're watching this series, you're likely dealing with codependency or narcissistic abuse. Take a moment. How does it feel for me to say no to somebody in pain when I know I don't want or can't contribute? Sometimes we can't. We have limitations, and that's nothing to be shameful about. What is it like to choose me first? Is another question to check in with. What do I want to do here? What can I do here? What honors me and my needs? Because that's the other factor here. Your needs matter too, not just theirs. So if you're not able to put your needs on the table, you're not able to advocate for them, you're not able to feel safe doing that, you're in an unhealthy relationship. You're in an unhealthy dynamic. and it has to be looked at, whether it's something within you that needs healing and needs understanding and needs transformation, or if it's a dynamic with the other person that has to change. So this can be complex, but it's a major factor in codependency, and that's something I want you to take some time to really explore. So ask questions below. Let me know what you think about this concept and what your experience has been with being needed versus being loved. And then what you would like help with in resolving it, because there's a lot of approaches, and I've given them some in this video, but I want to know what you think about it, and I want your feedback on it. So, yeah, let me know below. Otherwise, do subscribe if you haven't. It's just down here in the corner somewhere. And then get in on my Facebook group and check out Foundation, which is my premier course in helping us gain these skills and this understanding. And it includes a 12-week healing course called Neglect and Abuse Undone. This is a 12-week meditation course that's administered by me, and we have like live Q&As every week, and we discuss things, and we have a discovery system in it, 12 PDFs that help you understand your relationship to your family, to yourself, to your experiences, that gives you a chance to, one, meditate in a way that brings healing, to create clearings with all the shame that we tend to carry with ourselves. So I want you to check that out too. They are linked below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you guys in the next episode. Share and like this video and comment below, and subscribe. Thank you guys. We'll see ya. Bye-bye.